Go for it. Hey everybody, how are you? Good to see you, nice to meet you. So my name is James and I'm an artist, I'm a painter. These are some of my paintings and I'm going to take you around and just show you a little bit of what they're made of, how they're constructed. First, to just give you a little idea of how I go about things. So before I make the actual paintings, I build the panels that they're painted on. Some artists use canvases or paper or different other kinds of mediums that they use to start off as a ground. I make my panels out of wood. So these are called wood panels, and I buy the wood at a store close by called the Home Depot, and I bring home all the raw material and I cut it and then I glue it and nail it together to create these panels. And then I'll hang them up on the wall like this, and I will begin to paint. And the paintings are made with a very specific kind of paint that I use that I will show you. Come this way. So first of all, this is called an artist studio. This is a studio. So the studio is basically a workspace where artists can use as a laboratory or like a think tank to get work done. And I have my studio divided into two, basically. One area where I sort of make the work because it's kind of messy. And then I have a room like this, which I consider like a clean space, so that I can see the work in a nice clean area. And also because I live here, I don't want to live in too much chaos and in too much of the mess. Otherwise the whole apartment would be a mess, and that's no fun to live in. I don't want to live in a mess. It's not something I'm interested in. So come in here, and so this is the messy part of the studio, and these are the paints that I use, and they're all primary colors. Primary colors means that there's like red, blue, white, black, yellow, orange, and green. These are all sort of like the colors of the rainbow, and from these colors I can mix any other color that I want to achieve. And then usually I'll hang whatever I'm working on, I'll hang on this wall, which is why it's so filthy. And I will paint on this wall until I feel that the painting is at a place where I need to take a deeper look at it, and then I'll usually bring it into that room, look at it, and if the work is kind of finished or it still needs work, I'll bring it back in here and continue to work. And if you notice at the bottom of this wall, there's this, this trough, which is like a thing that holds water. And what I do is, because when I make the paintings, I will quite often have to wash the paintings. And I usually use like a bucket with water. So when I'm washing the paintings down, like to wipe the paint off, like the water needs to fall into this, and then there's a hole at the bottom of this trough, and the water goes into here, and then I can dump it out. And then I can continue to work on the paintings. And then, when the painting is finally finished, they go into racks. But the completed works don't go into these racks. These racks, which hold the paintings, this is kind of a work in progress type rack where I pull things out and we'll work on them at different times. Right now it's almost completely empty, which is great, which is always a good sign, which means I'm working hard. But the completed paintings will go in this rack. I'll show you here. So there's this rack, and then there's also this rack, which is all filled with completed work. And after a work is complete, I have these guys downstairs that own a business that cut and weld steel. And I use a very thin gauge stainless steel. And then what I do with that steel is I use it to frame the paintings on the edges, because the edges don't look so nice when they're just the wood, but they look really nice when they're like that. So this is a finished painting with the steel on the sides. And I usually leave like a 1/4 inch space around the painting to sort of highlight, you know, and separate the painting from the wall. I'll show you one where it looks like without the frame. So all of these are framed. This one's not, but will be framed. And so when the frame gets on it, it sort of just closes it in and completes it real nicely. And then sometimes I'll frame a finished painting and I'll think it's done. And then what happens is I'll live with it for a while and then I'll realize that it's not finished or I need to paint over it because it's really not that good. And then I'll take the frame off and I'll bring it in the back and start the whole process over again. So, thanks for coming to the studio, guys. Is that good? Is that about?
It's awesome.
3 minutes? Was that 5 minutes?
Yeah.
That's a wrap.